Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hi everyone, welcome to another video on the JayBee.
Hello.
And Millie channel, where as always joined by Rhianna.
Hi.
And today we have the absolute pleasure of interviewing David Kaye.
Hi. Are we on? Do we go? Where do I put the camera?
So we are so excited to be speaking with you today. You have worked on so many projects that are so nostalgic for us, which includes multiple features in Scooby-Doo and series of Mystery Incorporated, Be Cool, Guess Who, and some movies as well. So we're so excited to be getting into that today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. And I suppose, like Millie said, we've got a lot of things to discuss, but I'd like to start more or less at the beginning, if that's okay with you. And I guess just looking online, we can see that you started your career around about 1986. But in terms of your journey from there, what started your love for acting and voiceover work?
It wasn't until the VO stuff and the animation didn't really start till the move to sorry, I moved the microphone over here, to the move to Vancouver from Ontario in Canada, near Toronto, is where I grew up. A place called Peterborough. You have a Peterborough, England over there. We have a Peterborough in Ontario, Canada. So I grew up there. Radio. I mean, you know, I'll sort of paraphrase things, but I was very young and I was working overnights on a radio station and really got the bug for wherever that was going to lead. I really enjoyed that. It's interesting because in real life, in this life, you know, I'm a private person very much, and I like my alone time and quiet. But yet I chose a profession that you know, you need to be out there, and the mic is a perfect sort of go-between because you can kind of hide behind it, but you can really do anything you want behind this thing. You know what I mean? You can create you can be anybody you want behind this. It's just kind of cool. On camera, you're pigeonholed to a certain extent, but behind this is the world is I realized that a long time ago. So I moved. I did a few things in radio, and I eventually got out to Vancouver, part of a morning radio show out there. And I started developing characters as part of this morning team. I mean, you guys had it in the UK, London. There's like about 4 or 5 people, and there's bells and whistles, and there's the funny, you know, it's the morning radio when radio was a bigger deal, and just developing these goofy characters like Cowboy Dick, howdy boys and girls, woo, a song about a pet chicken, you know, and I'd do a song, and different. I'd come up with different voices, and then there's a commercial modeling course that was offered. Because I would do the morning show and I had all day long in this beautiful city to do sort of like, you know, I had nothing to do. And I just said, you know, I'll sign up for this thing. It was like a commercial thing. And I met my first agent there. The modeling part was it's kind of funny. I think if you had an eye in the middle of your forehead that they would get, you know, you'd be really, you know, they wanted to sell you the pictures and the package. But the commercial part of it was learning lines and sort of performing like doing commercials, like, you know, a Heinz ketchup, you know, or HP sauce, you know. I mean, and so my agent one night said, "What you should consider doing this. I think you'd. I'm a new agent. If you'd like, you know, I'll represent you." And I said, "Yeah, sure." And it was, I think, wasn't that long after he said. Because he knew I was on the air on the radio station. He said, "Do you do voices?" And I said, "Yeah." That's what he was talking about. He said, "Well, you know, there's auditions for G.I. Joe and Deke Animation, and they're doing some animation here." I said, "Yeah, sure, that'd be awesome." Because as a child, I grew up with all that stuff, you know, comic books, and I went out and I somehow was cast in this thing 6 weeks later as General Hawk, as G.I. Joe, and basically my own voice, just sort of like, "Come on, you know, guys, yo, Joe, let's go," you know, all that stuff. And here's this Canadian kid at the time who's playing this great American hero, which I always felt kind of guilty of until I became a U.S. citizen. And I left the LA Convention Center with my little flag, and I said, "Now I can say I'm G.I. Joe, the great," you know, no one cared. But that's where it started. with G.I. Joe and Exo Squad and a few of the things in the 89, 90, that's where I realized, okay, whatever else I've been doing, I don't want to do any of that anymore. I just want to do this because it's really too much fun. So that's where things started. It's a long-winded
awesome.
answer, but that's sort of, you know.
No, that's fantastic, especially from working in the radio stations and then developing voices. It sounds absolutely incredible. And I suppose when you were consuming media at that stage, were there any actors that you looked up to or that you feel particularly influenced your career?
Sure. I mean, there was many. Some of them were on camera, and I became a big fan of voices. And of course, growing up with Bugs Bunny, Mel Blanc was just such a, like, how does he do that? You know, I really didn't know sort of what I was doing or learning or listening to. You know, now I look back and I go, okay, well, I was this and I was that, and I can see the trajectory of the sort of where the career was and how I maybe thought, but I really didn't know. All I was concerned about is, they pay me for this? That was my own, like, what? Really? We get money for doing this? Okay. And that was sort of the beginning of, well, how do I get good at it? Or how do I get more parts? So what is it that, and then I sort of started taking, I just started doing theater in a little place called Deep Cove in Vancouver. And I studied from good friends of mine. What is that? You know, this bug? Who had studied in London under Uncle Don at RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London. And so I drew from their experience, but I didn't have all this baggage. I wasn't expecting a whole ton of stuff from myself. I just thought, well, I'll just, you know, be in the moment, or whatever they say. And so theater was helpful. Started doing on-camera stuff when X-Files was shooting in Vancouver, and it was all the rage. A lot of different film series and movies were coming up and shooting there from Hollywood. And so I was able to get a few parts on doing that, but it was behind the mic that I just fell in love with it. And I don't know. And I forgot what you asked me.
No, you've answered it perfectly. Thank you.
Probably an hour ago I answered it. Shut up.
Well, I know there's, you know, something that we're particularly excited to speak to you about, and that was when you played Professor Xavier in X-Men Evolution, which so many people love. What was that experience like?
Well, it was interesting. Kitty, where is Kitty?
Oh,
I know that when that was being cast, it was all this like hush hush, like you can't tell anybody. Oh, it was all hush hush, and it's Project X coming up from or whatever they called it from LA. And I go, you know, so obviously I'm quite excited to audition. I was very good friends with the voice director and very familiar with the surroundings, and so I wasn't nervous. I was just trying to figure out how do I get on this show. And I knew that I auditioned for Professor X. And in the booth, it was Carl Williams, the Ocean Group at the time. I think he was directing. He says they're big fans of the, you know, of the what's his name? You know, the bald guy. My God, I'm having a
was it Patrick Stewart?
Thank you. Good Lord, how did I forget Patrick? They're big fans of the Patrick Stewart version of X-Men, because that had sort of began to. I think the first movie was around then, you know, back then.
Yeah, 2000.
And so I just sort of, you know, and he said, well, you know, it's maybe try your best Patrick Stewart, sort of not imitate, but come up with your Patrick Stewart. And so, well, you know, I sort of spoke like this, you know, reserved and tried to do my best Patrick Stewart and this sort of thing. And they bought it. So, and I wish we still had outtakes, because it was a wonderful cast. We had a lot of laughs, so much fun, and boy, that was my first sort of introduction to Marvel. And then fast forward many years later, I know a lot of my peers and friends had got the chance to meet Stan Lee, and I think, I never got a chance to meet Stan, you know. And then I was doing Avengers Assemble as Jarvis. Yes, sir, right away, sir, incoming, sir. And in the first iteration of the series, animated series, and they brought me in one day, and one of the head writers said, "Hey, a little surprise for you." I go, "Oh, what's going on?" He said, "Well, Stan Lee's here." And I go, "What?" So he was in that day recording with Mark Hamill in an episode that I was playing Baron von Simo. He died a wonderful death, heroic. And I said, "Oh my God, he's serious?" He said, "Yeah, they're just recording their stuff, and Stan's going to go," because he was, quite elderly at the time. And finally, they brought us all in. It happened to be Mark Hamill's birthday, I believe, as well. And so we were all in the studio, and we're all like, "Hey," and they brought me over to meet Stan, and he's sitting down. And he says, "So what part do you play in the series?" And I said, "Well, I'm Baron von Zemo and Jarvis." "Baron von Zemo? Give me a little Baron. What does he sound like?" Because, "Well, Mr. Stan Lee, it's Baron von Zemo." Whatever I said. And he goes, very good. Yes. I said, "This is important to me to meet you." And we had a nice little conversation. He went on to meet the rest of the cast, and he left. And we're all in there because we're going to finish recording our stuff now for the scene, the Zemo scene, and Mark and Stan to come in for his cameo stuff. And somebody, my friend Roger Craig Smith, says, "You see the size of the font?" Because on his stand, there's the words, and the words are huge because he's older, and so they're like, so he can read them. They're just giant font. And we're all kind of like, wow, yeah, look at that. That's incredible. That's Stan Lee's. And then Mark Hamill says, he says, "Hey, we should all be so fortunate to read font that big one day." So we're like, yes, my God, at 94, or however old he was. We all laughed and carried on with the day. But that sort of brought the Marvel thing from Professor X all the way to Stan Lee, and how important Marvel was in my and DC in my life. So yeah, Professor X began that whole journey with the Marvel universe, and yeah, so that's cool.
Marvel's just grown and grown and continues to. And one of the things that's recently been announced is an X-Men series going to Disney Plus. Would you ever like to return to the role of Charles Xavier? Was it one that you enjoyed, that you'd like to do again, or are you always interested in kind of new voices?
Yeah, the new series usually they look for new voices. Of course, I'd be a part of it in a heartbeat. But each production, will have their ideas of how they want to cast the show, and they want to, modernize it or make it new. So the Professor Xavier voice, might not work. They might go a different way. So you just never know. It'll be a different iteration of the series, which is always exciting. The fact that I will say that, yeah, I would love to play any of these roles again and bring them all back. But the fact that I even got a chance to inhabit the character for a short time is like still mind-boggling to me. That they even let me in the room is still mind-boggling to me, really. The movie that was just out, The Eternals. I was a child at 12 with my good buddy, David Hayes, who unfortunately out of the blue passed away, in Toronto about a few months ago. And I'm still kind of processing that. And he was the kid, he used to hang out in this old comic book store in our hometown of Peterborough, and called Sandy's Cigar Bookshop, or Sandy's. And downstairs, the old rickety wooden stairs, it was like a sea of comics and in boxes. And Dave at 13 had got this part-time job, sorting the comics and Sandy knew to love books. And I used to go and hang out on a Saturday morning and just go through all this stuff. And I remember reading The Eternals. I remember Dave saying, "Hey, man," or he didn't say "call me man," because we weren't that cool back then. But said, "Hey, check out The Eternals." I remember him talking to me, and Jack Kirby, and I remember the comic book. I remember sort of this new group of people I never heard of. It's kind of an underground at the time, even in those days, The Eternals. And I remember that whole, that little moment there in the comic book store. And to think that sitting in a movie theater many years later and here seeing this character come up, and I heard my voice, they affected a little bit, but I heard my voice coming out of this thing, and I went, wow, man. It sort of made me think of Dave and the journey. So again, circling back to Professor X, that was the beginning of the whole journey with Marvel, and Yeah. You never know in life where where a comic book will take you.
Oh wow, that's they sound like such magical memories that
Yeah.
it's amazing to hear from where you started to where you are now. And I can say for me, my brother, you were a voice throughout like our childhood that was always there, and whether we realized initially that it was you or not, you were there. And it's so cool to speak to you. And I guess speaking more on the Marvel side of things, and you mentioned the Eternals actually, what was the audition process like for this?
Oh, actually, where is it? Hang on a second. Where is I should get that toy out. Where is that? Where's that toy? Don't go in. Where is it? There? Is that it? No, it's not it. Where's my Eternals puzzle? Can't find it. But he stole it. Anyway, it's around here somewhere. I hope it's not stolen. My Eternals toy. I have to build it. Lego. Oh, okay. What was the question?
What was the audition process like for the Eternals?
Oh, yes. Well, it's like anything. It comes through my computer screen here. I everything read off, the computer. It comes in, the script is in front of me, and it comes from your agent. And it was a very, they didn't even call it. It was like, I don't know what they called it. It was something else, very hush hush. And they were bringing a few people in for it. And big casting agency in LA. And I just sort of did my thing. I don't know. I remember reading, the voice, just trying to do this. I don't know what I was doing, the voice. I was trying to, do a good job on the scene and make it real. And it was quite a while later where your agent calls. So, hey, so good news. They want to book you for, they go, what? Yeah, well, right now, like they can't, guarantee that, you'll be in the movie but they like you. And I think they're, because you're thinking in a movie like this, they're going to get Michael Fassbender. They're going to get somebody to, play the voice. And she said, so, don't get your hopes up, but, this is really good. And this, working with Chloe Zhao. And I go, oh, wow, this is fantastic. Because I just finished watching Nomadland not too long before that. And this, she lives actually not too far from me. And she's so cool. So I just thought, well, it's an opportunity to work with the team and work with Chloe Zhao. I thought, that's awesome. So the script comes and it's all very, very, very cloak and dagger. You cannot utter a word to anyone, even your close family. So they bring you this. Somebody shows up and hands you the script, and there's a little hard drive, and it's a locked thing. It's a whole thing, and it's like James Bond. And you hand the script, you hand it back to them when you're finished, and you sign off. And so very careful. So it was kind of fun, to do the cloak and dagger, and that's how it was. And then we worked through it. We had a few sessions where we honed in on the voice and what we wanted to. It is time. I don't know what I did. I can't remember. Cersei, it is time. And they play with the voice a bit, do their thing, and that's how that all happened. Hopefully they'll have me back. Well, who knows? I don't know. Yeah.
I really hope that they bring you back. And it sounds like you had to play a bit of like a spy for a while, like secret agent. Everything was very hush.
I loved it. Yeah. When people mention NDAs, it's no joke. It's serious business. You cannot. I couldn't even talk about it until after the film was out, because they didn't announce who was. I couldn't officially say I was involved. You had to be very, honor their respect their wishes. So.
And one aspect that we really love about you is your YouTube channel. You started it, we believe, around 10 years ago. And what was the inspiration behind creating this channel?
I have a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Really? What's on it?
One of the videos that I saw a couple of years ago was your audition for Grandpa Max in Ben 10.
Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah, right. Okay. So a very close friend I've known for many years lives in the Seattle area, and he looks after the website and does all this stuff. And so, and my publicist is involved, and so I'm horrible at that sort of thing. I like to do this, and and Mark says, "Listen, I'm going to throw your stuff up on YouTube." I go, "Oh, okay, man. Yeah, sure. Have fun." And he just he started accumulating a bunch of stuff, and he said, film a couple of auditions, and when you can announce them, I'll throw it up. And so I thought, oh, okay. So I happened to do that one because I did it from home. I remember I just did the Grandpa Max role, and Ben. That's just basically a older version of me, who's where is that kid, Ben? Where is he now? Oh boy, I'm in trouble. And it's so, and I knew the people that were casting it. I when I went in to read the first time, so I just sort of filmed it, the callback thing, and I thought it would never see the light of day, and the phone the phone call happened later, but the magic of editing. But it's like, so hey, they want it, good news. That's how they start off when it's good news. And so they want to book you for the role of Grandpa Max. Congratulations. Oh, damn. So now as I get older, it's interesting. I'm being cast as robots and grandpas. I'm not sure how I feel about that, or ancient beings. So, I used to be the young guy. Hey. But yeah, that's how that happened.
No, I mean, Ben 10 has always been one of my absolute favorite shows of all time. And even before being cast as Grandpa Max, I believe you also played Scared, the kind of little globular creature.
Good, yes.
Oh,
yeah, something like that. Oh dear, yeah. And I have where's my other toys? I have I have Kai the Huntsman, sort of a South African sort of thing. Never get too excited, Ben 10 will get you the last thing I do. I sort of played around in that realm, and Scared and Frankenstrike, all that nonsense. And who was the other one? A Sock Squatch, versioned after my Uncle Terry, the Canadian accent. Oh, geez, we're in trouble now there. Oh boy. So the fun thing about Ben 10 is in the Omniverse, used to come in and used to have to handle a bunch of different aliens. So you come up with different voices. And on that show, worked with the late, great Derek Wyatt, who I still can't believe has passed away. He designed some of his characters, and some of the characters from Transformers animated.
Mystery Incorporated.
He Mystery Incorporated. And Derek, I think one of the reasons I was brought in on some of this stuff. And we hung out, We used to go to New Comic Book Day together, and with a group of us, and being in his funeral, his memorial service, actually a couple months ago, was a surreal thing, because it was great to see everybody again, because we had been locked down from the pandemic. But it was, we're getting together to honor a man who should be alive, and that was bizarre. So I have him to thank for a lot of that stuff. I think the Scooby-Doo stuff, Derek, I think, got me in the team, because they worked with me on TF Animated, etc. So that, yeah, I'm pretty sure Mr. Wyatt was responsible. Again, how I get in there, I don't know sometimes. Well, there you go.
I mean, that is just, thank you so much for sharing that, because, we were following that quite closely, obviously being around the Scooby things. And so it was just so sudden, though, even though we didn't know him personally, just to kind of hear that. You'd think that if you checked and researched the IMDb credits, it would be people in the 1969 series that were going. But for something so recent, it's like, you can't even imagine. But
it's bizarre. And the sad thing is, it's sad, that he's no longer here. But the sad thing is seeing the sadness through his daughter, through his sister and his father, that killed us. Because the Derek Wyatt is and was a massive talent. Like the talent he had. Sam Register talked at Warner Brothers, talked about, and even I didn't realize, wow, he was thought of highly, way out, he was good at what he did. So we lost a great animator, designer, storyteller, and that's really where all these characters come from, right? You're going to ask me questions about these characters, and those are the people that are my heroes. That they're writers who I'm like, how do you write that? And the people that create and draw, and come up with these these beings, like, that's still
Oh,
that's still a toy, it's still a thing after all these years. Somebody came up with that, and you go, well, if it wasn't for them, there would be no this.
yeah.
Excellent, yes. So yeah, I tip my hat to all the people that you don't see and you don't hear enough of.
Yeah, definitely in our case too. And that's something that we've been so privileged to be involved with, every week speaking to a writer, voiceover artist, animator. It's just so amazing to see, and especially to hear the stories and the wisdom that they can impart upon people. And, as opposed to that end, in terms of people that look up to you and that are watching, say, stuff like the Ben 10 audition and thinking, how does he do that? How does he accomplish something like that? What would your advice be to aspiring voiceover artists that want to do it, that are maybe just about to do an audition?
Don't be afraid to well, an old Hollywood actor, Mickey Rooney. I worked my first cartoon with Mickey when he was alive, and he used to hold court. He said to us, I want to tell you something. Don't ever grow up. Don't ever. And that's great advice. And don't be afraid to you cannot be afraid to make a fool of yourself, because you can't be afraid to scream, yell, cry, because this is you're in your own space. But even when you're working with other people, who I desperately, dearly miss being in a room with your other peers, this bloody pandemic. But you can't, how sometimes you sort of think of yourself, and you kind of imagine or envision a camera looking at yourself, like you're critical, you're critical, how you look, how you sound, how you are, I'm not this, I'm not that. And trust me, it's still at 57 years old, I still get those things. I let them wash over me way more easier than I did when I was younger, because that stuff lands and affects you when you're younger. You're looking through yourself through a critical eye. You cannot care. You have to be who you are, and that's really important, because every character that you inhabit has to have a soul. They have to breathe, they have to eat, they have to live, they have to have a backstory. In your head, these just aren't voices. When people say, how do you do how do I get to do voice? Well, you need to be a human being first, and the sooner you get comfortable with being yourself, that's when you're like, okay, now I'm free, now I can do whatever, I don't care. You can't care. So each human being is unique, and and each human being can bring a different perspective to a role. But you need to be able to get off the page and live that character. You know what I'm getting at? You really have to. It's not just words on a page. This character is like, for example, in even Megatron, it's like, it's Shakespeare. He's thinking, if I do this, this will happen. But wait, if I do that, maybe this. So it's all internal debate. It's breathing. It's inhabiting the character. He or she has a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? They have a soul. So once you get that, once you can sort of, and that takes a while to get, but that's what you're shooting for. You're shooting for truth. You're shooting for, even in a cartoony character, they have to have truth, and they have to laugh and cry and have to make you feel emotional. In Clank and Ratchet and Clank, the walking the fine line. Yes, he's a robot, but he has feelings. Ratchet. The coolest thing about doing the movie with James Arnold Taylor and is Clank needs to try and make Ratchet cry, or he needs to. I'm thinking about, how do I make the audience cry? And he's a robot, But but he has feelings. So we all know how we feel when we cry or whatever. So you have to go there with these characters, or be willing to. I'm talking around a lot in circles, but it's the humanity of the character is what's going to make it shine. So if I can get that across, I'm not sure if I did a good job there. But
that's fantastic, especially in regards to inhabiting characters. Like you say, you almost have to become the characters, feel what they feel, and live how they live almost.
Well, it's not even a they. It's us. It's me. If Rhianna, if you're doing a character, it's got to be Rhianna. It's got to be part of you, who you are. I mean, one of the scariest things to me, a friend of mine, we're having coffee, is, we were pontificating actors back in the day in Vancouver, blah, blah, blah. And we had sit at Starbucks and having coffee, and one of my friends, I love him dearly, but he says, we're talking about, embracing the dark side of who we, and he said, I don't think I have a dark side. We're like, oh, we did a Scooby. Oh, okay. It's a yes, everyone has the capability. It's just as an actor or bringing it, you have to be able to be willing to go down that road. As we know, like bad characters, we see them as the antagonists. So that, well, he's not, to him, he's not bad. I'm doing things my way. This is how it should be done. Side guns. That it's not. You're not trying to. You're just. That's who you are and what you believe in. So when he said that, I went, "Oh, an actor who says that I don't think I have a dark side." Oh, you're a human being. We all. You see some of these on-camera actors who are brilliant, like Anthony Hopkins. He's willing to go all the way down in the dark soup of evil because that's you're like, wow, because it affects you, it gets you right here because it's a real person. You're like, yeah.
Could I quickly just say that when you were saying about that you become the character, because I'm training to be an actor and everything, and every time I take on a role, as soon as I start talking, I say, oh, I like talk as if I'm the character. I'm like, well, I feel like this right now. This is how I feel in this scene. And I use like me, I, and all of that. And it helps bring the characters so much more together than just saying, oh, well, this character will feel like this
No,
character.
it's you.
Like
It's you. Yeah. It's a part of who you are. That's when we were directed by Sue Blue, and that first big deal. He would say, "Okay, Megatron." She wouldn't call you by DK, DK, or wouldn't call me Dave or D. It'd say, "All right, Megatron." That was the hardest thing about doing Transformers Animated, by the way, because Sue was directing, and then she would say, "Okay, Megatron." I go, "Oh, right, that's Corey. That's not me." That took me a while to get used to, when I hear Optimus, that's when I go, "Oh, that's me. That's right." But yes, it's very true. Because all the feelings are real. It's paying attention to what's going on in the scene and what's being, thrown back at you. This is a little exercise, a little actor exercise here. Rhianna and JayBee, Billy, you may have heard this or experienced this, but it's an exercise in connecting, and connecting is kind of a hard thing, an elusive thing to do when you're starting out, because you're not quite sure what that means. But it's like a cold read. There's a scene and it's face down on your desk, and you sit across from the other actor, and you just sit there and you stare at them, and they stare at each other. And you know how uncomfortable that is to look someone else you don't really know in the eyes and not look away, and you just look at them, stare at them. Michael Caine, look at me, not blinking. You literally look at them, and you sometimes you want to start to laugh, but you can't look away because they're just feelings that are coming up, right? And then when you're ready, the acting teacher or whatever says, "Okay," and then you look and you turn the page over and you start. And the first line may be, "Why would you do that to me?" And you look back, and the other person looks at their line and is, "What are you talking about?" And then because you and I don't know what we're going to say to each other from one moment to the next, right? So this cold read exercise teaches you that first make the connection. Like really connect, like through the eyes, right? It's really important. And then, then you say something, and then because the other person's like, well, I don't know what he's going to say or she's going to say, and you need to react to that. So that has to come through on camera and behind the mic. Is if you're hearing this for the very first time, that's how it has to be. Every scene, every take, it's the first time you're hearing it. And that's another trick to use. But yeah, try that sometime. It's fun. It's to look someone in the eye and not look away. It's creepy. But that's how you get a connection. There's a connection there. Once you both feel that, then you turn the sheet over and then you start to read, and then you see where it goes.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I'll definitely try it out.
Yeah, it's fun.
And is that kind of method of embodying the character the same method that you use even when tackling a character that's, say, been pre-established or kind of been voiced before by someone else?
Yeah, you have to because you have to make it yours. It's it's part of you. You have to connect it. You're not doing somebody else's voice. You have to. I was brought in on the Young Justice. I was playing Vandal Savage, and he was voiced by Miguel Ferrer before. And poor Miguel, I never got a chance to work with him, but he's a Hollywood legend in his voice, and he's amazing. And he has a thing in here where it's very deep. I don't know, 50,000 years of life, the Justice League. It's all here. And I had to sort of come in and read, because he passed away and they were still doing, oh my God, it's the worst kind of situation to come in, and it's like it's a heavy thing to come in and try and, replicate. So I had to find the voice print, like he's here, down in here. And so I could get there, but I also needed to make it my own and make it real. I couldn't do Miguel Ferrer. I had to do, me. Yeah, you have to make it your own, that's for sure.
To what extent does, say, physical movement, come into your acting at all?
It's really important. I remember they brought the cameras in a long time ago and filmed this in Beast Wars recording back in Vancouver in the 90s. And I remember his little hands, little hands there, little teeny little hand. I would, behind the mic, I'd stand up and I would just, yes, excellent. What a pleasant surprise. And, and sure enough, after filming us all in the scene, sure enough, his little hands come up and do this little thing. Oh my God, they use that. So, and Alec Willows, who played Tarantulas, is creepy watching him work, man, because, oh yeah, and because you think of a spider. So physicality. And if he's physicality is really, really important. You just got to remember to play it all in here. That's all in behind the mic. You can't be all over the place but yeah, it's important. Good question.
So I guess, like you were saying, like about being behind the mic, things like that, to what extent do you get to interact with the other people you're involved in projects with? So we know you've worked with Gary Chalk a lot of times. Do you normally, a lot of things tend to be done from home studios now, or do you get to see people quite often when you're doing your work?
Well, it used to be all the time. We go in, and that was sort of the fun. It's like, I get to hang out with my friends today. That's their first and foremost. We're recording back in old Pinewood Studios. It's long gone in Vancouver. But just to go in the morning and have coffee and hang out and do goofy voices and do a table read and be with your friends is kind of you're laughing away and carrying on. That's the best thing about it. Going from home it's still awesome because we could still do it, and we can still do it. But the Zoom is great, and we're doing table reads on Zoom, and we're doing recording ourselves here. But there is nothing like being in the studio with your peers and having a laugh and doing a show. It really is one of the big reasons why I love to do it. And I'm really hoping at some point in the next, I don't know how long the situation is going to be in, but to get back in the studio with people would be my number one priority, just because the people I prefer to spend time with. It's great being in here alone in your pajamas and like, hey, I don't have to go anywhere. Yeah. But something about good old-fashioned human interaction.
That's very true. And speaking of like human interactions and things like that, we believe you've attended a lot of Comic-Cons and fan events. So what are some of your favorite memories from those?
Well, it's strange because I'm just me, and I was a goofy kid growing up, and I was one of the ones that would stand and, the 8mm film camera come on, and we have our relatives from England a long time ago. And they were like, to me, that was like when relatives from England would visit us, it was like aliens had arrived. Like, oh my God, we just thought like, what do you call French fries? Chips. Oh, they called them chips. Oh my God. It was, bangers and mash. It was just like, it was so great. And I would, in front of the camera as a little kid, and oh gosh, I love that. But what was the question again?
I was just thinking about like Comic-Cons, fan events, like interactions that way. What's your favorite memories? My
point was that it was what was my point? God, I was going somewhere with this, and it was really brilliant, and honestly, it was going to be fantastic. No, I know why. I kind of wanted to be the center of attention, but I didn't. And now, when you go to a convention, these people care. They seem to. I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but honestly, it was going to be really good. Here's my point. It's bizarre to sort of have a catchphrase and people yell out from the back of a room saying, "Hey, can you say excellent or yes?" And excellent, and the whole crowd goes crazy. Or, well, I mean, that to me is so strange. And because I'm just me, I'm just a goofy kid. Yeah, the comic, but the really great thing about this convention is again the human interaction, about the fact you can go there, because if there's no fans, or there's no one cares, or there's no toys or conventions, then there's no this stuff. There's no there's no He-Man. There's no. So it's really important that I get a chance when I can to thank people in person, like, hey, thank you, because without you, there's no me. There's none of this. So I make sure people realize that. That's what fan conventions are so great for. I did my first one in Dallas a few weeks ago. First time on an airplane in 2.5 years. I was freaking out. And I used to travel all the time. I was like, oh, I'm an old hat at this, flying. But literally, the mask on, like, oh, don't anybody talk to me. And in Dallas, there weren't a lot of masks. There were some, but we're all vaccinated as far as I knew, and nobody got sick. So I'm like, oh God, okay. So I did it, because it was really great for the soul to be there and to be with all these people who follow your career, and to see friends from Canada I haven't seen in a number of years. So that was awesome. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with the kid jumping in front of the camera and my UK relatives, and I don't know where that was going. But again, let me know if you find out. So.
Okay, so one question that we have to ask you about Comic-Cons, and we do like to, and we've had some, different answers for this, is, do you remember any memorable things you've been asked to sign? So we've heard everything from burgers to people's arm, I think.
Yeah, baby's arms.
So what, can you remember anything that you've been asked to sign that stood out to you?
Yeah, it was a baby's arm, or was it a leg? And then many years later, I was at I was in a BotCon or TFCon in Burbank here in LA. And family comes up and says, "Hey, Mr. Kaye, I don't know if you remember or not, but back in, I think it was Ohio, that we were there, and I asked you to sign a baby." I said, "Oh my God, yeah." He said, "Well, here's the baby." And the kid walks up, and he's like, he's 4 feet tall. And I go, "Oh my God, have you still got it on?" He says, "No, we had to wash it off, but that's the baby you signed." And yeah, he's become a big Transformers fan, and his mom and dad were. This is really kind of cool. I don't know what else have I had to sign. I don't know, casts, the old traditional cast sort of thing, uniforms, plushies, weird things. But the baby's arm was a good one.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the most memorable answers we've had to that question. That's amazing.
Yeah, I kind of felt like the Beatles. I kind of felt like, oh my God, that's what can you imagine that? I couldn't.
Oh wow. And I guess moving on to your history with Scooby-Doo, did you happen to watch any Scooby-Doo cartoons while growing up?
Yeah, from time to time. I used to watch the old ones, and see, the thing is, it's like 50 years old, right? Or older now. And when I was a kid, I was watching Scooby-Doo. And so when I first got into the studio on my first episode, Argus Fentonpoof, I believe it was, the first episode of Scooby-Doo, I was all excited because it's Frank Welker's there. Matthew Lillard, I believe, was he playing Shaggy now? And who else? And there's and Gray is there, and I know Gray. And so I'm sitting there, and of course Frank and I were talking earlier before the record, and he's such a nice guy. Frank is such a gentle human being, and then we start, and then I hear this, okay, and I go, oh my God, it's Scooby-Doo. and then Frank talks or Fred, and I'm looking, and like, this is bizarre. And there's this voice coming out of Frank Welker, and I grew up with it. And here I am in the studio with them all. They all like to sit, which is weird. I cannot sit and record. Tara Strong does it. Sit. I cannot. I have to breathe. I cannot sit and do my job. But they all sit, and I'm like, I felt like an adult in a sea of children. I'm looking down at them like this. They're all sitting down, and that's how they record. But yeah, when I came to that line, if it weren't for you meddling kids, I went, oh my God, woo! It felt like a touchdown. I felt like I scored a goal and kicked the ball into the net. It was quite a fun moment.
Oh, wow. And I know you mentioned the original series, but did you happen to have a favorite Scooby-Doo movie or series?
I can't remember. Just the ones where that sequence where the chases sequence where they go in and out of the doors all down the hallway. That always, and then they of course recreated that a few times in the new ones. Went, hey, they're doing that thing they did before when they go into those doors. Yeah, I mean, it was always my favorite ones. Scooby-Doo ones were if it involved a swamp and it was in like Louisiana or the South somewhere, or that was overall was my favorite.
Oh wow! Like the whole scene with the doors. Every time that happens, it's the best. And either from working on various Scooby-Doo projects or possibly from your childhood, do you have a favorite member of Mystery Inc?
Favorite member of Mystery Inc? I always liked Shaggy. And speaking of Dallas, a few weeks ago, I'm getting off the plane and I realized that, hey, that's Matt Lillard. Oh yeah. And because I work with Matt a few times, and we got off and we stepped like, hey Matt, David Kaye goes, oh hey man, how's it going? And I was like, oh, are you? And they were doing some fan con. They were in Dallas as well. There was like 3 big conventions there, and there's a few people I don't pay attention on planes. I put a bubble around me and just don't talk to me, leave me alone. And I realized that Matt Lillard was literally sitting across the aisle, and so my favorite was the Shaggy. The original ones, of course, Casey Kasem, who I met later in his life, and he was a radio hero of mine. And this week on American Top 40, and every time I listen to Casey, I think, oh my God, that's Shaggy. Hey, my favorite lines are, would you do it for a Scooby snack? Would you do it for 2 Scooby snacks? No way. Would you do it for 3 Scooby snacks? Okay. Okay. And the character Clank, people ask about the video game, the Clank character, and the laugh. They always want to do the laugh, and we called it the Scooby because it's an ode to Frank Welker and Scooby-Doo, because we're trying to come up with a there he is, with a laugh, and I just kind of went that whole. It's kind of mechanical and we called it the Scooby. So literally in voice direction, when we were doing Ratchet and Clank, so give me a Scooby on this one, and so that's in reference to Scooby-Doo. There you go.
Wow, that is so incredible, and that was such a good Scooby voice as well. It's just amazing how you've managed to do that. And I guess like we've mentioned that kind of iconic line, I would have got away with it without you if it weren't for you meddling kids. And it was kind of like, what was it like to be, one of those iconic Scooby villains?
Yeah, and I played a few since, and I always love that. When I read through the script, I go, oh, hey, I got the line. Everyone wants the line. I wouldn't have gotten away with it. One of my favorite characters was Maurice LaMarche was in a Scooby-Doo, and I worked with Mo in one of them, and he played what's his name up there? Hang on a second. Vincent Price. Vincent Price.
Yes.
An old Hollywood actor. For you young kids, I put him up there because I loved his voice as a child. I watched all his scary movies, and Mo did such a good job, and I worked on mine, and I always liked, I think Vincent Price was in some the original Scooby-Doo's, right? And there was a
13
yeah.
ghosts.
I would have, yes, I would have gotten away with it too if not for you meddling kids. Yes, you know, this, and it was a scary, scary night.
And whenever you heard his voice come through in a character, you know, okay, well, obviously he's going to be the bad guy. Yeah. So Vincent Price is one of those voices from the past, and I still reference today.
That's brilliant. And I guess you've mentioned, you know, the kind of many monsters of Scooby-Doo and the characters as well, like Vincent Price encompassing the Vincent Van Gogh character. Are there any monsters or any other characters that you either played in Scooby-Doo or that you're aware of that kind of stand out to you as being particularly memorable?
Well, I recently did what's the one, you would know this, I did the Blue Falcon.
Yeah.
So now Gary Owens, I was a big fan of Gary, and when Gary's alive, he was with the agency William Morris, who I was with as well for a time in LA. And we used to go into the agency and we used to read, and we used to sit in the lobby area, and Gary Owens would show up, and Gary would be full of stories about Hollywood lore, and he would hold court. And I would see Gary, you know, out and about once in a while, and I saw him at an event we were at, and I said, "Hey, Gary David Kaye," I said, "You know, you're one of the reasons why," I said this one, "reason why I'm doing this. Like, I mean, really, from your laughing." And he says, "Well, we're all fiends, friends here." And I went, "Oh my God, you just did a line." And so I knew he'd done a bunch of stuff in the past, and always a huge fan of Gary because he was also, you know, a radio guy back in 1964, Mamas and Papas, and he. I don't know, just he was just such a great guy as well. And when this opportunity came about, I got the audition and went, "Oh, Blue Falcon, oh my God." You know, so I did my Gary Owens sort of thing on the Blue Falcon, right? You know, I did that heroic sort of thing, and follow me. And I did that, and they loved it. And then they bought it and brought me in, and we had a bunch of laughs doing that because I, you know, channeled my my Gary Owens. And so I thank Gary. Yeah. Yeah, he was quite a figure around here in Hollywood. He had stories on everybody. You know, I remember John Wayne Gacy. You know, oh my God, he talked all this.
Geez.
You know, yeah. Remember, there was a restaurant back that way, Vitello's, and he was telling us all about the Robert Blake stuff. Well, you know, Robert was known to carry a gun in his car, but we didn't. You know, I heard the shot that night. He would go on. It was fascinating to hear this. You story. Chuck Bronson got his name from Bronson Boulevard off Hollywood there, and you know, he was just a wealth of information. So that voice always stuck with me, and I love pulling out of the pocket if I can.
Wow, that's incredible. And kind of just looking at that range, you went from Mr. Incorporated to then the next season as well, which was Be Cool, and that tended to take a more kind of comedic approach to the show. Do you remember what it was like to be part of that? Was the comedy something you enjoyed?
No, I was just doing my thing. I didn't really think about comedy or the way I knew, you know, it was different. It's just another iteration, and I was pleased to be a part of it and grab a spot on it. Yeah, I wasn't playing for the comedic. It was just enjoyable just doing a role on the show, honestly. Yeah.
Amazing. And can we ask, for that series in particular, did you get to work with the writer John Colton Barry?
I believe, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was there, because there's about like 8 people behind the glass, and sometimes there's a bit of a glare, and then you don't really see. You come in, hey, you know, go into the room, and then when you come out, you're like, hey. And then you leave, and then you can't really remember sort of who was there. I remember, you know, Colette was there, and other people were there, or I can't remember who directed that one. Anyway, but I'm pretty sure John was there, as I remember. He had the goatee. I remember he was there. Yeah, he's great. I mean, geez, Phineas and Ferb, and on and on and on. I mean, there you go. There's a talk about a writer. Anytime you get a chance to work with those people, it's just amazing.
Definitely. And you appeared in the most recent Scooby-Doo series as well, Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, as you mentioned, Blue Falcon. What was the process like for getting this role, or was it similar to the others?
Yeah, so did the others. I mean, the role came through, and I saw Blue Falcon. I went, oh, my favorite. You know, I love the Blue Falcon, and I just did my thing and did that sort of hero voice, and again, after Gary Owens, I went right down that road and hoping that they would appreciate that. So
we definitely appreciate it. 'Cause I think out of all the different like voices that we've had for Blue Falcon, you're one of my favorites, I think.
Oh, thank you.
And you also appeared in the movie Scooby-Doo and the Gourmet Ghost. And when you recorded, did the process differ from doing the shows at all because it's a movie, or was it pretty much the same as well?
I think we did that from home, if I'm not mistaken. Was that did I go in for the Gourmet Ghost? No, I went in for that. That was before. I think it was before the pandemic. When was it? Was it around 2019? Wasn't Gourmet Ghost or?
Yeah, either 2018 or 2019.
Yeah, no, I did. I know I did go in for the Gourmet Ghost. That's right. Yeah, I remember there was one voice I had trouble with. It drove me nuts, and I can't remember. I think it might have been on that on that one. I just sometimes the voices, they don't for yourself. You create a character and you do something in the audition, and there's some little thing you do, and then recreating it, it's like, oh, what did I do? You know, I could always go back and do things that 2 or 3 times over, but I have to just stop that. But I can't remember the character. Was it Gourmet Ghost? Was that the which one was that?
That was like the cooking one. Some of your roles, there's a Henry Metcalf. There was Chef Duflay, who was the ancestor of Bobby Flay.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Okay, yeah, I was having trouble digging into a character. I remember that I was sick. I remember I had before COVID. We used to call it a cold. Oh God, I'd love to go back to those days. And I wasn't feeling, and I remember I wasn't feeling that great. Or I think, yeah, it was that show. And then I came back and had to do some more. And I would listen to, they would play me in my ref and go, oh, I sound like I have a cold or something. I'm pretty sure that was the episode. And I called my agents. I want to do that again. Ah, crap. I didn't feel like it. Anyway, I think it ended up in the movie or, so hopefully it was okay. I wasn't feeling that great on that one.
They're definitely characters that we really do like in the movie. So, it's more commendable, if you had a call. It's just amazing that you still managed to do that. And I guess speaking more about behind the scenes, you've given us some amazing stories with Frank Welker and of course Matthew Lillard. Mm-hmm. But what are some of do you have any, I guess, stories or memories from working with Grey DeLisle at all?
Oh God, tons. Yeah, I mean, we worked. I'm the one of the good guys in He-Man, Masters of the Universe, and she's a baddie. Yeah, she's hilarious. I can tell you one thing. We had her on a little wine show before the stupid pandemic, and we had her over, and I did some sweet wines, and she was a riot. She's so much fun. She's a character. But when the whole pandemic thing started, we had to go into our own studios and do it from home. I think 2 of the most successful voiceover people in the industry did not know how to work their damn computer. The most successful, we're all like waiting, and all of a sudden a blank screen. You're on mute. You're on mute. Is that? Am I? Oh my God! Is it working? And I go, it was always either Gray or Tom Kenny. Would be like, these people, and Tom. What happened? Tom would get on Zoom, and of course the screen would unblank, and it'd be like this, like, okay, I'm what's can you hear me? Am I? Oh, step up, and like, come on, man, you Gray and Tom, you're the biggest voiceover personalities, and just learn how to work your computer. Oh, we always laugh. We'd laugh. But they figured it out eventually. But no, Gray is a sweetheart. She's got great stories. She's what an uber talent. I always feel like I'm this big in her presence, though. She's she's a force, and I love her, and it was great working with her. Yeah.
I mean, I think your work is so incredible. And again, like it takes, even though we've done about like 50 of these kind of interviews now, I always struggle to keep my composure because it's just so amazing to be speaking with you today. And I guess one thing that I did discover, you know, upon, I guess, researching for this is that you've played like another really, really fun character, which is Krypto the Super Dog in the Super Pets miniseries. And
Wow.
that's kind of been really trending now, obviously, with the Super Pets movie coming out. And there's been so many rumors about Scooby crossing over with Krypto at some point. If that opportunity to do a collaboration with Scooby as Krypto were ever to come up, is that something that you'd be interested in?
Well, you know, of course, I I would. I'm just looking.
Yeah, Krypto Super Dog. Yeah. Who did I work with? Who was on with the cast in that? I'm trying to think because I remember doing those little shorts and they were fun. I worked with let's see, gosh, yeah, trying to remember that there was a bunch of people we worked with that day. We were all there, and it was he was the guy in Office Space. Yeah, dude, $1 million. Oh my gosh, hang on, I gotta look this up here. Office, hang on, Office, hang on. Search Office Space cast. Diedrich Bader. Thank you, and thank you, interweb. Yeah, Diedrich Bader and I worked Diedrich a few times, and we were in that episode together, I believe, and we were just talking stories about the movie Office Space, and then we were brought in to do our stuff, and it's fun working with him. Yeah. So more great memories about just the people you're with when you meet before you record. Those are the memories that I have of doing that. I remember I had to talk fast. What are we gonna do now, huh? What are we gonna do? I don't know if I can do it right now. I'm too old. But you know, it was Super Dog and it was Krypto and it was awesome.
And so, yeah, that's basically how that was. And we did that at the Warner Brothers Ranch, which I love going on the Warner Brothers Ranch studios. It's cool.
That's fantastic. I mean, hopefully there is some more news that comes up about that kind of crossover with Krypto. That would be incredible. And I guess to switch up the scene a bit, just to briefly touch upon the future so that, you know, we can not steal too much of your time now.
Yeah, I actually I have to work out at 2, but I have some stuff I have to record before I get into a lot of pain. So
I guess to that end, a penultimate question would be, do you have any upcoming projects that you can talk about?
Let's see. We're doing one now for DreamWorks that is really cool. I can't tell you. I love the character. I had to dig for this one, dig deep in it. And there's I did an episode of Teenage Euthanasia with a group out of New York. I'm not sure when that's I can say that I did it. But what else? Because that series is already, you know, I think it's in its 2nd or 3rd season. I know that Justice League is, I was working on, of course, Justice League, and some of those episodes already dropped on Netflix. He-Man, where I play Battle Cat. That's out there now, and it's dropped. There is a very, very adult series coming to Netflix that I can't talk about, that I'm part of. So just that. Let's see. Gosh. Yeah, there's a number of things that still haven't sort of been announced yet that I'm part of, and I'm looking forward to. I know that you can still catch Arishem and the Eternals on on digital now. And one of the cool things in the UK over there, and I'm trying to get a copy of it, is it was kind of neat because I work with a couple trailer houses over there, and I did the home entertainment trailers for the Eternals. I was also in the movie, so Eternals this Friday, Rated PG-13. You know, I did so stuff for that. There's a trailer playing in the UK. It's a new movie. It looks really good, called Men. It looks creepy and weird. And I just recorded the UK trailer, so you might be hearing my voice on those trailers over there. I did all the Harry Potter stuff, the recent FB3 stuff, and it was fun. So you may hear me over there as well doing trailers from here. Yeah, there's about 4 or 5 different shows that I can't mention, I can kind of hint at. And I'm just grateful for everything they get. As you know, my business involves a lot of radio and television work for the voices of radio and TV stations, a lot of concerts, a lot of trailers, both here and overseas, a lot of commercials. I mean, it's so this booth is it's pretty busy, 12 to 16 hours a day with something going, coming through here. And animation's sort of just a part of it, but it's my favorite part. Yashahime is the Shomaru, the anime character. She's Shomaru. Yeah, so that's on. They brought us the US and the Canadian cast back together for Yashahime, so that is also out there, and you can stream that. That's fun.
Great. And the last question that we have for you is, those projects that you were hinting at, other things that you can't quite speak about at this point. Is there anywhere where people can keep up with you on social media or on a website to find out when things are announced?
I have a funny relationship with social media. I know it's a necessary thing. And Michelle, God bless her, publicist, she's been awesome. Rob Paulson and I talked about social media just quickly a long time ago when we were doing a session of Ben 10 Omniverse, so we were in, or something, or animated Transformers.
DK, it's like a second job. It's like a full-time second job. You got, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know how do you, but I'm getting better at it. So you can, the stuff comes out. It's usually going to be on Twitter at DKAYEVO, both Twitter and Instagram. And the website has everything on it. That has everything there on the web. It's davidkaye.com. That's easy. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. It's just if you hear this interview or have a question, you can. Twitter is where I'll generally respond quicker, because it's like right there on my phone. It's like, oh, that's easy. Otherwise, I'm also studying, this is a random thing, for a WSET 3, level 3 wine exam, which is it's the British WSET 3, but I write that in Napa in 9 days, and I'm freaking out about that. So I also have a wine page at Hollywood and Vine, and sometimes we do some videos. We interview other voice people, and we drink some wine from a particular region and eat some great food. So we're going to start ramping that up again as we get into a little, who knows, this whole, let me just say, this whole pandemic has really thrown a wrench into all of our plans, and it's created anxiety and strife and horribleness. And if I can bring a little joy into people's lives, I will. I do not get political or weird on social media. I cannot stand that. All I want is people to smile, because there's just too much horrible in the world right now. We all need a little space to just joy, do a little bit of joy, a little bit going away, and that's really what I want to do with social media. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, you certainly do a great job making so many people happy, and even if it's people discovering your work from years ago today, or obviously your work now, just a whole entire career of making people happy. So that is incredible. And I guess at this point, thank you so much for the time that you've given us today. You've been incredibly generous, and we will link all of the social media in the description down below for people to discover and to keep up with your career. And you can find Rhianna's social links in the description as well. And I guess thank you so much to everyone for listening to this today. This has been incredible, and we hope that you stick around for more. So please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.